What a week this song, bro.
That was really not great.
Like Eminem should not be responding to this, guys. It's not even worthy.
That was one of our reactions to the game's new album, Drillmatic. If you guys want to access our full live album reaction, go to the link in the description. But Lou, let's get into this review. The game just dropped a new album, and how do you feel about his artist performance, man? What did you get out of this, and what do you think he did well here? What do you think he didn't do so well?
Yeah.
What are you feeling?
I had super high expectations for this album going into it because the game hailed it to be the album of the year, and didn't really impress me that much. I mean, starting off the track list, I'm like, you know what? He's actually doing his job as an MC. He's switching up his flows. He's giving you different cadences. And I was impressed, especially with the song, what was it? Home Invasion.
Home Invasion
That was one of the
crazy.
best rap performances I've heard all fucking year. And it's crazy that that's like the biggest outlier on the track list just because he doesn't seem to kind of maintain that lyricism for the rest of the track list, to be honest with you.
And I like that what he was doing at the beginning of the track list, because for a good portion of like that beginning part, he was trying different flows, different cadences. But I find
But
like
speaking
guys
of that, he would also like take flows from Cardi B at certain times, or take flows from someone like Armani Blanco. So I felt like at times that was another gripe for me, that he just really wasn't sticking with his own original style.
And another thing too that I find throughout the track list that the game didn't do too well at was just keeping me engaged as a listener. And I'm not sure if that's a product of the album being fucking 30 songs plus. Like it's obviously going to do something to your replay value, which I'm going to talk about later on into the thing. But I like what the game did here as far as, you know, holding a track list goes, but it just wasn't consistent throughout. I mean, even sometimes when you had gotten like more like, I would say maybe party stuff, you could say, if I could put it in quotations like that, on something like Nikki Beach, or even something like, let's say, Stupid with Big Sean. That's less party, but it's just more like one of those songs that have more of a bounce to it. He didn't write those types of beats well at all. Not only that, but I didn't like the drill productions that he was writing. Example, something like Killers with Cameron. I didn't like the way he attacked that. I wasn't a fan of, I believe it was called...
The one with Fabio Foreign?
Yeah, with Burning Checks. Like, it was okay. It wasn't bad performances, but for the most part, it just wasn't too entertaining for me. So do you think that's a flaw, let's say, within his performance, was just keeping you engaged in this track list?
Absolutely, because a lot of these songs are super lengthy too, and he's giving you 2 to 3 verses. But, I mean, we'll get more into this in the content matter, but performance-wise, he didn't do too much to kind of keep you entertained. It felt like there was a lack of charisma at times, but overall, I think it was a mid-performance.
It was a mid-performance, but I will say this. I think his best performances on the album for sure were Voodoo, Home Invasion. Eazy was fantastic. On Time was great as well. But besides that...
Save the best for last.
Yeah, Save the Best for Last was good as well. A Father's Prayer was nice too, but really, really, really inconsistent throughout the whole track list, at least in my opinion. You guys let me know how you feel about that in the comments section. But let's go on to the content matter, bro, because we know how many name drops you're going to get in a game album. It's been like that since a documentary and even before that. And to be honest with you, like, it got really stale at a point to where, like, I didn't want to listen anymore. Like, how many Tupac, Biggie, or let's say like Ye drops are you going to make until like your listener gets completely disengaged? And as you were saying, there's an issue because it's 30 plus songs. A lot of these songs do have a lengthy track time, and like it's hard to be able to keep up that type of content matter. And I found myself super disengaged once you're getting through like maybe that 12 to 13 song mark, at least in my opinion.
And like, I just don't understand where, you know, certain cases you're having the game dissing people like Dre, or you're having him diss 50 Cent and the fallout that he had with G Unit. It just sounded to me like he was bitter about like kind of the lack of flowers he's gotten throughout his career. Not only that, but you go to like the infamous diss song that everyone's been talking about, which is the Black Slim Shady, and it seemed like, if anything, the game was showing love to Eminem because of how knowledgeable he is on Eminem's career, Eminem's flows. Like, it was supposed to be a diss song, but at the same time, he's showing you that he's a student of Eminem to a certain degree. So that track really didn't have any bars that resonated with me either. It's fucking 10 minutes long, and by the end of it, you're like, holy shit, what was the point of this?
Yeah, not only that, but there's going to be a lot of, like, obviously violent and, like, you know, gang content matter throughout the whole album. But
which is kind of a norm for game albums.
It is, but it just gets super repetitive again, like, because you're having too many verses in here, and there's too many situations where you're just left wondering, like, okay, like, how could you expand on this, or how could you go further with it? And you're sitting through the album and you're like, I've heard that line in the last song, you know, I've heard this, and I feel like that's a case for a couple of other albums that I've heard too this year. But this album really suffered bad from
I
that.
think 2 or 3 times he had a bar about like making waves like Frank Ocean. Like it was really repetitive.
It was.
And not only that, I mean, what I will say is that the Nipsey Hussle tribute song was really nice. I thought that was one of the standouts. And another one would be Voodoo in terms of the game going into how he has to take care of his daughter by any means. So there are moments where he got more introspective, but they were far and few between.
Yeah, and even at that, like there are certain verses, example, like on the last verse of La La Land, where he's kind of saying that certain caps represent certain gangs within Los Angeles, and not to go here and there. And like I like those kind of concepts because it was cool because it's refreshing for the track list. But even at that, how memorable is that type of writing? And as you were saying, right, like. He can't name drop Dre anymore, like let's say Eminem or anything else, so he has to go towards other artists, and it's kind of feels forced all the way through as well. It feels disingenuous, and then you're kind of wondering like, what's the point of the album to a certain extent? So listen, I think the content was mid. It really wasn't that great whatsoever, and it's really not going to keep you engaged. But again, let me know how you feel about that in the comments section.
Let's go into the features now.
On the
so
album.
we had, I think, like over 30 features on here. A lot of songs.
Is that for real? We have over 30 features on this?
I believe it's between 25 and 30, somewhere around that range. And listen, it was exciting when like you're looking at it by first glance. When you're looking at that track list, you're like, okay, we have 2 Kanye verses. We have an interlude by Drake, which was completely fucking pointless when you listen to it. It's Drake telling the game that he couldn't get a verse done in time for the album, and yet the game decides to include that for some reason. Not only that, but you're getting NBA YoungBoy, Fabio Foreign, you're getting Ty Dolla $ign, Lil Wayne, and most of them didn't really deliver.
Not only that, but I feel as if like this feature list made no sense to what was going on with the context of the overall album. I mean, yes, okay, you had certain features that I guess did their thing. I mean, the Nipsey Hussle feature was really nice.
The YG feature was a standout too on Outside.
For sure. I mean, you said that you really liked the 2 Chainz feature and the Pusha T feature, so
yeah,
I guess you could.
He was writing out that like soul sample production, and he's done that before on albums like La Machina by Conway, and I'm like, you know what, 2 Chainz sounds really good on these types of softer instrumentals. It's a nice change of pace.
How did you feel about the Kanye verses though? Because to be honest with you, I wasn't too impressed with them.
Fucking weak, man.
It really wasn't that great. I mean, Eazy's all right. It's not a crazy verse, but once you get to Fortunate, you're kind of like, fuck, man. Like, oh, this is Kanye West, right? Like, I'm a huge Kanye fan, and you're kind of left disappointed after hearing a track like that because it doesn't feel like he's inspired in any of these verses, and it just feels like, okay, like a lot of this shit was phoned in. Listen, Lil Wayne on Chrome Slugs and Harmony, that really wasn't good at all, especially with the hook. That was really annoying.
Big Sean on Stupid.
No, like, and that's stupid, and that, like, because there's a point where Big Sean keeps repeating stupid, and it gets really annoying at that point as well, so I didn't like that. G Herbo was nice though on Chrome Slugs and Harmony. That was fire. Besides that, really, I mean, No Smoke at the Polo Lounge, that was where Jeremiah had his vocals and you couldn't really hear it. And like that's another problem with a lot of these features is like either it's mixed poorly, so the features don't sound good, or they sound completely different than what's going on with the game, or they just don't make any context to any of the songs.
And a lot of the more like singing type of hooks that features provide, like Chris Brown or Jeremiah or Ty Dolla $ign, they just don't fit or really mesh well with the productions at hand. So pretty disappointing, to be honest, considering the level of talent that was featured on this album.
But I will say that Rick Ross delivered a fantastic
great
verse on
Rick
Save
Ross,
the Best for Last, for sure. Cassie Chloe and Chris Brown, I mean, it's pretty standard.
Rocky
for Universal
was all right.
You see, I wasn't a fan of the Rocky chorus. The more this, more that. It's just like, okay, I gets kind of repetitive and redundant for me. French Montana and Tory Lanez, I mean, like, listen, it's pretty subpar stuff. You're not going to be getting anything too crazy, and I think Meek Mill and Blast had the best parts on Talk to Me Nice. Even Ice-T was pretty chill on the intro too. So overall, listen, man, I think the features were mid. A lot of this shit sounded phoned in. Like, it just didn't sound coherent whatsoever, and it literally made no sense to anything on the track list. So let's get into the production, all right? Because the game has a very nice year for production. He's super underrated when it comes to creating soundscapes with different producers. Obviously, early on in his career, someone like Dr. Dre was helping him a lot, but over time, even when he wasn't working with Dre, you always found something entertaining when you're talking about his production. And there's highlights within this. I think it's definitely the strongest point of the whole track list. You're getting soul samples on this. You're getting drill beats on this. You're also going to get some more softer and more melodic type productions on this. So
you're getting some DJ Paul beats as well, some 3-6 Mafia influence, some more Southern style drum patterns, I would say, which were pretty cool. I mean, at the same time, though, I just feel like a lot of the beats ended up sounding the same song after song. It felt like there was a formula to them to a sense where you're getting a vocal sample on nearly every single song on this album.
Yeah, and the tempo, and that kind of created like conflicts with me like while I was going through the album, because there's nothing really to like keep you engaged and keep you like saddled up for this whole track list. And then I'm going to talk about how that plays into the replay value in the next category after this. But yeah, I think overall, I mean, it was okay. It wasn't anything too crazy. It was a good soundscape, but something example like the sample flip on Eazy, that was great. Even the energy that you got from a song like Home Invasion, that was great. Even going through something like Hard versus Mine, like I believe that was produced by DJ Mustard. That was a great production as well.
Save the best for last with Rick Ross. Had
that
an
was
amazing
nice as well,
beat too, very
for
soulful.
Sure.
But yeah, besides that, it doesn't blow you away, but most of the tracks are well produced. I think the production on the album was good, but let's now go into the instant replay value. And listen, there's 31 fucking songs in this album, and it's a struggle for any artist to kind of keep your interest for that long. But Logic did that this year with Vinyl Days, so it is possible. But when it comes to this track list, realistically, maybe I'm taking away 10 songs. Like, this could have easily been trimmed down by more than a third.
Yeah, absolutely. This could have clocked in at 15 songs, and I'd be like, okay, that's a good runtime for this. I could go back to it. Then 10 songs is generous, bro.
How many songs are you keeping?
Okay,
I want to actually fucking do it, bro.
All right, fuck it, let's do it.
I'll go one time, Eazy, Voodoo, Home Invasion, Outside.
Yeah, okay, I'll take Outside. Hard versus Mind after that.
Yeah, 6.
I'm not too impressed with the Roddy feature, by the way. I didn't like his auto-tune on
No Man Falls, I'm going to take for the 2 Chainz.
Are you really taking? Okay.
7.
Then after that, I would probably say... I guess, yeah. There was a bad stretch in the midway of this album that really wasn't too great.
Twisted, I would say. World Tours, that's 9. Save the Best for last, 10.
A Father's Prayer was pretty nice as well.
I'm taking 11 out of 31. That's my count.
11 out of 31. That's crazy. Like, you could probably, yeah.
It's a third of the album.
That's a third of the album, and that just speaks on the replay value. And I don't know what was the direction with 30 songs. And if you're going to have 30 songs, example, like the way that Logic did it was a lot of his tracks were either interludes or the songs were like 2 minutes each, right?
Yep.
So it was merited. Like the runtime wasn't bad on it, but like this is literally a 2-hour listen. So what are the odds that you're going back into this album and playing it from start to finish? There's probably none, but there still is tracks to take out of it. I still think there is value to the track list, but what do you want to go with this rating, bro? You want to go bad or mid with it? What do you say?
I think it's it's bad for the replay value, absolutely, bro. When you're taking only 1 out of every 3 tracks.
I know, but like that's not like
only that, but like even some of the ones I said I'm gonna keep, I'll revisit them once or twice more, maybe.
Yeah, that's if you want to go back. That's another thing. Yeah, so you can't go back start to finish. It's way too long. A lot of these tracks are like way too lengthy. There's certain songs with over 5 fucking verses, so you can't even go through it like that. And for the most part, I just think that it's not entertaining of an album enough to be able to stay locked in like that. And listen, guys, let us know how you feel about it in the comment section, but let's keep going with this, man. Overall thoughts on the album. What do you have?
Overall thoughts, I mean, listen, the game was really anticipating this highly. I was also anticipating this pretty highly just because he does not get enough credit as a lyricist and as a wordsmith. And although he does showcase that on certain occasions on the track list, I feel like he spent too much time name dropping and having his focus kind of span off by these nonsensical kind of tirades where he's not really giving you much insight on where he's been, what he's been up to. Instead, he's kind of relishing on what other people have done and how his career has been affected by that. So I think the subject matter was lacking. I think the production was decent enough. Overall, though, I just think it's a weak album.
It is a weak album. I think we're gonna give this album a mid score. And I mean, listen, even at that, like if you want to revisit Game albums, are you really going back to this? Like I have at least a good 5 albums in front of this one for that I could go through and get Game material from. So even at that, you're not really getting much of it on that end. And as you said, like a lot of this stuff and a lot of the material within this album is nonsensical. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense. And you could go through Genius. Like, I listen, if you guys want to go through Genius and write it out and go through every single bar, like I had to do, like, fuck it, rip through it. But I'm telling you, there's really not much going on it. So I don't think it's a bad album. I just think that it's a mid album. And guys, that's where we're going to end it off today. Let me know how you feel about this album in the comment section. Let us know. Where did we get it right? Where did we get it wrong? And guys, thank you so much for the support recently. Much love to everyone that watches the podcast. We're going to be doing more episodes next week. So if this is your first NFR podcast episode, please subscribe. Much love to you guys, and we'll catch you in the next one.